So the big question is this: how do you lose all the weight that you want and actually keep it off for the rest of your life, while trying to make sense of all the noise that comes from the weight loss industry? That is the question. And this podcast will give you the answers.
G'day guys, and welcome to the next episode of the Weight Loss Secrets podcast. My name's Baron Grant and I'm rapt to be with you for another day to share another tip, another trick, another idea, something that's going to help you to make changes in your life that can be long lasting. So you can lose all the weight you want and keep it off for the rest of your life. Now, in most of the podcasts that I talk in, most of the podcasts that I run, I should say, I talk through a lot of things to do with weight loss, obviously, but more so to do with food and walking as the greatest exercise that you can do for weight loss. And I don't want anyone to believe that I don't think training in thousands of other ways is amazing, because I do. I think training is super, super important, and walking is not the only way. I just think it's the best when you're on that weight loss journey. When you're trying to drop the 20, 30 kilos, walking is the best way to do it, right? As part of your healthy eating plan. But after that, after you've got down towards your goal weight, you've got to be doing heaps of other stuff. You've got to totally shift from just walking to, we've got to be doing body weight exercises, weight training, playing sport, swimming, whatever. All that stuff is awesome and amazing, and you should do all of it as much as you possibly can. And that's going to change the way your body feels for the rest of your life. You'll feel fitter and stronger and healthier. So I'm a huge, massive advocate for exercise. And I just wanted to frame that up before I jump into this bit, because I don't want anyone to think that I think you should only walk for the rest of your life and never do anything else. I think other stuff is really great for your body as well. And in saying that, I have an ad on Yellow Pages. I used to work at Yellow Pages, but I have an ad on Facebook that some of you may have seen, where I talk through 4 key steps that you need to do to lose weight. Now, that ad gets rolled around all the time, and there's comments that come up on the bottom sometimes. And sometimes people just have a crack at you for no reason, and then they try and tell you you're a liar. But other people write some cool comments. And there was a guy who I don't know his name, but I want to quote him. He said, weight loss is done by food and body shape is done by exercise. And I'm like, that is a great, great call. And he's 100% right. Now, it's hard to do everything at once. And that's why I say, when you're losing weight, get the food right and move, right? Get the food right and walk. But when you want to shape your body and you want to change your body, totally changes depending on the exercise that you choose. Now, just the other day, Davina was listening to a podcast. That's my wife, Davina, listening to a podcast. And there was a guy named Irwin La Corre on there. And he said this quote. I'm just going to read it. He said, "The way my body is a consequence of the movement I choose to do." I love it. I love that. What a great call, right? So we choose the way our body is because of the movement that we choose to do or not do. We live in a society where we move far less than we ever should. We move far less than I believe our bodies were ever designed to do. You go back 100, 200 years or whatever, when we didn't have all the creature comforts that we do now, life was very, very different, where people had to knock down trees with their own hands and build their own houses and plow their own fields. And, life was extremely different to what it is now with all the creature comforts that we have now. How many times do we actually walk to the shop that might be 5 minutes walk away, but we drive 1 minute? We used to live in a street, it was literally about 800 or 900 meters from the shops. And frequently we would drive there. and obviously if you're taking your whole shopping, you need to do that. But something simple, we drive there all the time, because that's the simplicity of life, right? Everything we have is so accessible and so easy to get that we put in so much less physical effort into everything that we do in life now compared to what we used to back in the day. Just living, right? Unless we deliberately go and do different things. Just have a look around the streets. How many kids you just see riding around on their bikes? Way less than you ever would see before. When I was a kid, we were out, I sound like one of those old men now, right? So when I was younger, we used to go uphill both ways to school. That's not real, but there are significantly less kids outdoors now than what there ever has been that I can remember. A lot of that is to do with computer games and phones, and a lot of this sort of scrolling up and down is happening now as opposed to actually moving our bodies. I think a great example of that is I loved the sport of indoor cricket. And indoor cricket is a dying sport, certainly in where we live. I used to play at a centre, and they used to have, when I was about 18 or 20, even a little older, so I'm talking 15 to 20 years ago, or maybe it's 20 years ago, closer to 20, they had 12 divisions of about 10 or so teams, 10 to 12 teams in each division, right? I've played at three different centres in the past just a couple of months, because one centre collapsed because they only had 6 teams left. The other centre got down to 3 teams, and so we left there and went to a new centre, and they basically have no teams either. So they've gone from 10 divisions to like 3 or 4 teams in the whole centre, and the centre ends up dying. And that's because kids aren't coming through. There's no new kids coming. It's just us old blokes who like to go and play, because kids are not playing sport nearly as much as they used to. At my kids' footy team, there's no under 18s. There's no under 18s game at all this week, because there's that team has no under 18s. And so there's all these sports are struggling for numbers. Outdoor cricket's struggling for numbers because young kids are not playing sport nearly as much as they did. So what are we creating in that generation? It's a bit of a challenge. But then when we think of us as adults, how much are we really moving? Do you have an office job? Do we sit in front of a computer all day? And so we create the bodies based on the movement that we choose to do. And so what I see, and I used to go to some schools and do some boot camps with kids, and when I used to run those boot camps, I was amazed at the kids and how much many of them would struggle due to lack of fitness, lack of health, being overweight, all of these challenges in young kids. It's very hard for them to get out of that as they get older. So I want you to think about, what sort of movement are you doing right now, and has your body adapted to the situation in which you've put it in? So how much time do you spend sitting in front of the computer? How much time do you spend sitting in front of Netflix? How much time do you spend doing all of those things? And has your body adapted to that type of behavior? Has it become softer, a little weaker? Where is it at? In a society that we don't move much anymore, we actually have to now deliberately take time out and go and train and work our bodies in the way that should be working most of the day, but they don't anymore, because we just sit around and, we might be working hard. I'm not saying people are lazy, but we sit around and we don't engage the muscles in the way that they need to day after day. I want you to think for a second about how our bodies actually adapt, and how this quote from Irwin La Corre is so true, how our bodies change depending upon our situation. I'll read his quote again. It says, "The way my body is a consequence of the movement I choose to do." Think about this for a second. Think about athletes. I'll start with swimmers. So when you look at a swimmer's body, what does it look like? Generally, a swimmer's body will have nice V shape, big wide shoulders, and it'll come pretty tight into their hips. And that's because of the extreme shoulder workout and extreme back workout that they're doing as they're moving through the water, right? That's how their body adapts. Now, my body doesn't look like a swimmer's body, because I haven't done the hours and hours and days in a pool building those muscle groups that they have. If you look at, I like this one, if you look at a tennis player, I remember watching Roger Federer once, and he put his arms up after he'd won, and his left arm was the scrawniest arm I've ever seen in my life, and his right arm was tanked. For a pretty lean guy, his right arm was tanked, because that right arm has done that work all the time. So his body had completely adjusted based upon what his needs were. If you look at bodybuilders, their bodies adapt and adjust based on the types of exercises that they choose to do and the types of areas that they want to actually work in their bodies. Crossfitters, you look at crossfitters and they're much more straight up and down. Don't have as much sort of in and out shape, and they're thick and strong because they have changed their bodies in the way that they've trained. And I want you to think, how have you changed your body, and how has your body adapted based upon the movement in your life? Because our body is a consequence of the movement that we choose to do. So are you doing enough movement is the question. Could you do more movement? Oh, let me give one more example. It doesn't even have to be athletes, right? It could be farmers or anything like farmers are strong and they've got to lift things and move things. So they've got this functional strength that is real life. And so lots of farmers I've seen are quite lean and almost shredded because they're working out in the sun, they're working hard, their muscles are always activated. And so they've created these bodies. What sort of body do you want and what sort of body are you planning on creating, right? So, but I want you to think about what you can change. So if you're someone who moves little and maybe exercise is uncomfortable for you, then what can you do to start? You just got to move normally, but more. It could be that if you've got a dog, go outside and run around with the dog. Not even run, walk around, throw the ball, move your arms, get out and move more deliberately. Walking is a great place to start. What you don't want to happen is you go, right, I want to change my body. Awesome, I'm going to exercise more, that's great. If you go too hard, too quick, you'll hate it and you'll think your body can't do it. I used to have guys come into the gym, and for the morning class, it was predominantly women. I might have 15 or 20 women in this class at 9:30 in the morning, and I get the occasional bloke that would blow in. Now, a lot of these guys that would come in are like, I'm on a health kick, I've got to get healthy again, but they might be 20 kilos overweight and they're not very strong anymore and they're struggling. But they want to keep up with the ladies in the room, and so they go really hard and then go and throw up immediately after the session and not even make it halfway through the session, by the way. And that makes them never come back. So when you start slowly. Go and jump on the tramp with your kids. Go and play golf and walk the whole thing without getting in a cart. Walk up and down the stairs. Do simple things. I was chatting with a mate of mine the other day and he said, I've gotten so weak, Baron. Similar age to me. He's like, I've gotten so weak. He's losing weight at the moment, but now he started doing some push-ups. But he's not even doing push-ups on the ground. He's doing it on a 45-degree angle on a railing at work. So he just punches out 50 or 60. They're like half push-ups. That is freaking awesome because he is now strengthening his body in a way that he'll come back and do it the next day and do a little bit more and come back and do it the next day. So if you're in shape, awesome, keep training, go hard. If you're out of shape and you're feeling not great about yourself, exercise is a great way to improve the way that you feel about yourself, but improve your strength and change the shape of your body. Food's most important when it comes to losing weight, but when we want to shape our bodies after we've got a good kick of that weight off, then we're going to start thinking about how we're going to exercise. But start now. Start by moving. Start by moving more than you are right now. Remember, we are a product of the decisions that we make. It's a consequence. Your body is a consequence of the movement that you choose to do. And so that's the message I want you to go away with today. Start small. Do something. Move differently. Deliberately walk somewhere where you could drive. Deliberately walk up the stairs rather than take the lift. Why? Because we are not nearly moving enough, not even close to moving enough of what our bodies were designed to do. So we need to deliberately take time out of our life now to move better so we don't get sick and die much earlier than we want to. That's the message for today. Get out, do something simple, get some movement happening in your life. You'll feel a heck of a lot better for it. You got this, guys. We'll talk soon.